Oh, this fast healing stuff is gonna come in real handy.
Hey guys, welcome back to Redalot Gaming, and today I got an all-new series called Redalot Reviews, where I do short reviews on the old and as well as the newest type of games. For the review on this channel, I will be discussing in a short response on a heavily underrated PS4 exclusive known as Infamous Second Son, which was released back in March 21st, 2014. Before we start, I will discuss how this review is going to go down. I will discuss the game solely on its story, gameplay, and of course, graphics. And be warned that this is an honest review of mine, where it's my personal opinion. I only do this for fun, since I love reviewing things like movies and video games. It's a short project of mine, and I just wanted to give it a shot. So if you're going in the comments telling me how wrong I am that this certain game is a solid 10 out of 10 for you, well good, you actually have a heart and actually care for something this pointless. As for me, I don't care what I'll give it. It's my belief, and this is how I'll review my games. Now, without further ado, let's do this.
Hey, man. I've been looking like forever for you. We should probably just get
Do you
inside.
have any idea how embarrassing it is for me to keep arresting my own brother over and over and over again?
Maybe you should stop arresting your brother over and over and
You
over
think this
again.
is a joke?
No, I
Is
don't.
this how you want to leave your mark on the world, huh? You think this would make our parents proud?
Delson Rowe, a graffiti artist with no real direction in his life, gains conduit abilities after a sudden bus crash. He travels through a futuristic Seattle where Delson can channel any other conduit abilities. He will then have to make a choice on whether he uses his power for good, or that will affect him to be adored by many, or he uses power for evil, and he will be feared by the population. The story goes is that Delson wants to make everything right for the conduits and the citizens who live in Seattle. After learning about the bad experiments the conduits go through, he wants to make a stop of it. So through his journey, he has gained many abilities to try to stop the ever so generic villain, Brooke Augustine, a director of a Department of Unified Protection and as well as a prime conduit. Reason I say her character is generic, or better yet, I should say for this whole story, is that it's just so weak. Compared to Infamous 2, this game lacked the same emotion and depth that its previous sequel had to offer. It's a forgettable 5-hour experience with not many things to show for it. Its characters, minus Delson, Betty, and Reggie, lack any personalities where it completely fails to make you feel for them. The story, I wouldn't say it was bad, but compared to Infamous 2, which the whole plot of it was basically trying to save as much people as you can until the beast arrive, this story just felt way too simple and way too rushed that I felt like it had less development time than it should have. We should have, if it had more development time, this would have been a perfect game. However, this story is just borderline generic and nothing too special. The characters are completely unlikable. Some are pretty forgettable. During the story, you meet certain characters that are basically how Delsin gets his powers, such as Fetch and some nerdy dude I forgot his name of, but basically he was like a representation of any gamer who plays who plays online games. It's kind of like a stupid nerdy character. So it completely just I'm not even bothered by it. But everything else about the story, it's just I don't know. I felt like they could have done way better with its characters. Its story is way too generic. I feel like it would have been placed way better if the story was just had more development time. Other than that, it's just a decent experience. There's some good parts in it, such as Reggie's death, and it was pretty emotional, not gonna lie, since I have my own brother. Experiencing something like that was kind of sad, but other than that, this is just this is just a mess story. Despite how disappointing the story was, the gameplay on the other hand is really fun. This was the first time in any Infamous trilogy where you get a total of 4 powers. Powers such as smoke, neon, video, concrete. Personally, I would have been fine without the concrete, because other than it being a really powerful weapon, it's completely useless since you practically get at the end of the game. It wasn't used to its full potential, so it was kind of like a big letdown. There are new finishers for each one, which are so fire to use. Only problem is, I forgot to record finishers, but I managed to pick up one, and it's one of my favorites. And if you guys don't know about these finishers, well, check this out.
I hope Reggie's got a good view of this. Anchors away.
Hello, Science Center District. I lost you. Do you read me? I'm getting nothing, sir. You? Nothing outside our immediate area.
Yeah, Reg. Let's go find us some prime conduits and get some new powers. We own the streets!
But if there's one thing I have to complain, it's the parkour. The parkour in these games were never good. No matter how much they try, it just didn't work well, especially since how light Delsin plays. If when you're doing parkour well, you have to have like a really heavy character. Delsin is more of a light character. The same thing can go for Cole. So if you try doing parkour with them, it just doesn't work well in that regards. This is me trying to climb on the big needle, and no matter how much I tried, it literally took me about 5 minutes to climb over that. I know somebody's gonna say, oh, I climbed that shit like in 2 minutes, it was so easy. No, I dare you to actually try to speedrun this game and try to climb over that, because this is probably the worst thing about this game, which is the parkour. The powers, absolutely incredible. The finishers are fucking awesome, but when it comes to the parkour in this game, just stop trying to be like Assassin's Creed or Uncharted, alright, Infamous? Be yourself. You ain't gonna try to do this much when it comes to the parkour. I'll be fine if the game didn't have parkour, because the game already has like amazing superpowers that this is probably the most forgettable thing to even use. Overall, this is the only one complaint I have. But everything else about the gameplay, a solid 9 out of 10. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. There's no denying that back in 2014, this is probably the most visually impressive PS4 games that ever came out for the system. It's breathtaking, it absolutely looks realistic, and in my opinion, this is probably the best looking game out of any generation of games that came out for the PS4. I mean, it's no Uncharted or Horizon Zero Dawn or God of War, but it's definitely close up to it to be like really good. Yeah, I don't know why. Games during this time always gave off this more realistic and darker type of setting of graphics that I wish they bring back more. Now they focus more on the realism with the people, but like other than that, this is just really impressive. The only complaint, at least 2 complaints I will have, when it comes to character models. Reggie right here doesn't really look that good. Like, Delsin looks fine, but when you look at Reggie, look at his eyes. Like, come on, they're just way too cartoony. I think they were trying to go for more of a comic book style, but if they're gonna go for more comic book style, everything else should have been like more like cartoony. Reggie looks more like his eyes are about to fucking pop out of his head. And the other thing is the lighting. The lighting is, even though it looks really good, some parts right here, it just looks way too dark that I can barely see where the villain's gonna be. I was having a little bit of a difficult time, especially since I was playing this game on expert mode, which, by the way, expert mode is not even that challenging. I should have put that in the gameplay complaint that there's hardly any challenge. But oh well, I already did the gameplay part, but I'm only focusing on the graphics. But to me, I felt like the graphics just focus way too much, a bit too much of the realism, even though it looks so good. It's the lighting. The lighting has a bit of a problem. And there's also a bit of a lag effect. These games have a little bit of a lag effect when there's a lot of things popping up. But besides that, graphic department is pretty good for the most part. I'm not gonna say it's a 10 out of 10, because those 2 complaints I have with the lighting and the character models, they could have been more improved. Maybe if Infamous Second Son gets a remaster for the PS5, maybe it'll look way better and probably run way smoother than it usually is. Overall, Infamous Second Son, 7 years later, is still a remarkable title. I can see why many people will say this is an underrated exclusive for the PS4. It's visually impressive. Gameplay is fun and fast-paced. It definitely, if before Spider-Man, this is technically what you get when it comes to an actual superhero game. But besides those things that I loved about it, when it comes to the story, it's probably the most disappointing in the trilogy. It's not really impressive enough, nor is it probably memorable. So when people say this is an underrated title, they'll probably mention like the gameplay or the graphics. But when it comes to the story, it felt way too short than it needed to be. It felt like if they had more development time, the game would have been a solid 9.5, or at least a good 10 out of 10. But when it comes to the story, which really fucking drops that shit down badly, I would have given this game at least a 7 out of 10. But when it comes to the gameplay and graphics, and despite some minor little tweaks around them, I had no more other complaints than that. Like, just the little things didn't make me mad. Only the story did. I felt like the story was just way too simple than it needed to be. Overall, when it comes to story, 6 out of 10. When it comes to the graphics, a solid 8.5. And when it comes to the gameplay, a 9 out of 10. Overall, I'm gonna give Infamous Second Son a 8.5 out of 10. Maybe a 9 out of 10. It's still a good game for what it was. Is it underrated? Yes. Do I still think it's a 10 out of 10? No. To me, it's not a 10 out of 10, but it's close. It's so close to a 10 out of 10. But if it wasn't for those little tweaks that I had many complaints of, this story would have been better if it had more development time. The graphics, if it was tweaked a bit, like when it comes to character models, it would have been better. And when it comes to gameplay, if they just fixed the fucking parkour, which I had to spend fucking 5 minutes climbing the big needle in Seattle, then it would have been less of a problem. Overall, this game is good. So, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. It's a 12-minute video, actually. It's surprising enough. But besides that, I hope y'all enjoyed. Next video, I don't know what I'm gonna make. Maybe I'll make like a fucking 19-minute episode of GTA or something like that. Or maybe I'm gonna review Resident Evil Village. Who knows? But I hope you guys enjoyed. Stay safe, y'all. I'll see y'all in the next Redalot reviews.
Delsin, little help here.
That's that pitching arm again, huh?
Delsin,
All right. Come on.
I got it.
Thanks for the hand. Huh.